World This Week, the second week of July, is all about the new world disorder with The Economist. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the program. I'm Jun Sung Lee reporting live from my home here in Seoul. The new world order that The Economist views is multilateralism and cooperation among middling powers without the help of the US, the world superpower, and international organizations like the UN. First of all, this article criticizes the UN by describing its long traditional internal problems. During UN conferences, the Security Council gives vetoes, which is the right to express denial, only to Britain and France. Even the two nations are viewed as diminished powers since 1945. However, other member nations such as Japan, India, Brazil, Germany, and all African countries don't, either any permanent relationship. In reality, this problem still looks unreformable since the UN itself is bureaucratic and infuriating on its regulations. Currently, the UN is defining them as peacemakers, as it protects and gives essential assistance to 125 million people worldwide. Hence, these efforts are even unreliable considering the constant antagonism and conflicts between member nations. For example, India and China had recently had military clashes over a border dispute, and France is helping to ease the conflict with its allies to prevent the spreading across the Sahel region. Take a look.
The Indian Army confirmed Tuesday that at least 20 Indian soldiers were killed in a violent face-off with Chinese troops Monday night, along the two countries' de facto border in the Himalayas. 3 deaths were earlier reported, but a further 17 troops who were critically injured died a day later. Situated in the Himalayan Galwan Valley, the line of actual control, a loose demarcation line, was formed after the 1962 war to separate Indian-controlled territory from an area administered by the Chinese government. Despite the agreement, flare-ups in tensions have been a regular occurrence over the years, with each claiming the side were invading. However, this week's incident marks the first military deaths in over 40 years of the two countries' border dispute. The standoff has intensified over the last 6 weeks, and a large troop buildup has been taking place for weeks on both sides of the border. Then, during a de-escalation process, Monday's incident occurred, which involved a physical fight using stones and batons, but not gunfire. The Chinese government claims the Indian forces violated the consensus with China on easing the border situation after commander-level talks and provoked a physical conflict.
We solemnly demand that India strictly restrain its frontline troops in accordance with the consensus, refrain from crossing the borderline, provoking troubles, or taking any unilateral actions that may complicate the border situation.
While the Chinese confirmed casualties on their side but provided no specific numbers, Indian news agencies cited sources as saying 43 were killed or injured on the Chinese side. 최정윤, 아리랑 뉴스.
Continuing on, Syria is still facing civil wars against the al-Assad regime for 9 years under the intervention tensions of the two powerful states, Russia and the US. New problems such as the global COVID-19 pandemic has aroused, and it is unlikely to be resolved quickly since local insecurity is keep worsening. Especially, the economic conflict between China and the US is resulting delays, restrictions, and disorders in the global market in the midst of this pandemic. The Trump administration is also expressing antipathy, mistrust, and denial on international organizations like the UN.
The WHO, that's the World Health Organization, receives vast amounts of money from the United States, and we pay for a majority, a biggest portion of their money. And they actually criticized and disagreed with my travel ban at the time I did it. And they were wrong. They've been wrong about a lot of things. and they had a lot of information early, and they didn't want to. They seemed to be very China-centric. They called it wrong. They missed the call. They could have called it months earlier. They would have known, and they should have known, and they probably did know. So we'll be looking into that very carefully, and we're going to put a hold on money spent to the WHO. We're going to put a very powerful hold on it, and we're going to see. It's a great thing if it works, but when they call every shot wrong, that's no good.
Therefore, it is time for middling powers to lead the new world order by breaking away with the existing norm, which is relying on the US and other international organizations. For example, France and Germany have created a multilateralism alliance where it is fully open to other countries. Also, after the US has withdrew from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a huge trade deal, the remaining countries started to form regional bilateral trade agreements by themselves. The one between Japan and the EU, and another between 28 African countries are the typical case. Moreover, 9 democracies, which are Japan, Germany, Australia, and Canada, could also form an independent committee to generate a third of world GDP. It is also possible for the US to join these alliances only if it is treated equally as other nations and just focuses on cooperation. The Quad is a typical example, which is a coalition between India, Australia, Japan, and America to look over the expansion of China, especially in the South China Sea.
China is seen as a threat by the Quad democracies, as China has been bullying its neighbors in the South China Sea for control over 80% of the region. It has regularly stopped the U.S. Navy from performing freedom of navigation in the South China Sea region, like this incident in 2017.
China has sovereignty of the national islands, including reef and its adjacent waters. Leave immediately and keep far off so as to avoid any misunderstanding.
There are certainly critics towards the active role of middle power countries who argue that America will once again lead the world order as the regime changes, and the middling powers job is just for triage. However, we must be fully aware of the fact that the unipolar movement of the US has already shown its limitations and backlashes, typically from Russia and China. Most nations, including the pro-American countries, have shrugged when former President Barack Obama urged them to join the US for world peace. It is certain that the new world order is in the hands of the middle powers and the rest of other nations worldwide. That's it for today's program. Remember, you can always watch my program online, YouTube, and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you for watching, and goodbye from Seoul.